Welcome to Part 7 of Bright Ideas, a PTI Nebraska workshop on special education law, in which we'll look at the development of an Individualized Education Program, or IEP, for your child. The IEP is developed during the course of a conference hosted by the local school district specifically for that purpose. Many parents find the IEP conference among the most terrifying experiences of their careers. There's really no reason for these conferences to be any scarier than a night on the town with friends. A little planning is all that you need. Here are some pointers to keep in mind as you approach an upcoming IEP conference. If you don't have or can't find your copy of the latest evaluation report for your child, ask for another copy ahead of time and review it to refresh your memory about the picture of your child the professionals are working with. Is it still pretty close? If not, perhaps now is a good time to request a re-evaluation. And speaking of pictures, it's not a bad idea to bring an actual photograph of your child with you if it's not possible for your child to attend in person, just to keep the focus on the person you're discussing. Find out ahead of time who will be attending your child's IEP conference. If you have questions for a particular service provider, be certain to let someone know that you need to have that person in attendance. Gather the information that you've accumulated at home to share with the group, perhaps new medical information, the results of any outside tests your child may have undergone, family news, your observations of your child's progress, or any new challenges or stumbling blocks you've noticed. Organize and write down your questions and bring them with you so that you don't forget to ask them at the meeting. Jot down the areas where you feel you need more information from the team, and remind yourself to express gratitude to teachers and staff for past successes. Gratitude always goes a long way toward cementing interpersonal relationships. Write down your priorities. The IEP is structured so that the skills you think are the most important to your child's future are prioritized within your child's program. So be sure to let the team members know what your priorities are. The IEP conference will conclude with each attendee signing the document, indicating first the fact of their attendance, and second, their agreement with its contents. If you disagree with any part of the IEP document, or if the document is incomplete, you have the right to refuse to sign the document. You may also choose to not sign it at the end of the meeting, but to take the document home while you process, discuss, consider, and share the information in it with others in the child's life. Then sign it on another day. You may also incorporate a brief note indicating a portion of the document which troubles you, along with your reasons, and sign it with the stipulation that you are not in agreement with that specific portion. In this way, you may indicate your attendance while selectively opting out of a particular service or recommendation for your child without jeopardizing all of his or her other services. Finally, be sure to let someone know if the appointed meeting time of the conference is bad for your schedule. A meeting can always be moved to a time that works for everyone concerned. There's no need to pressure any participant into giving less than their full attention to the business at hand. Those participating in your child's IEP conference comprise the IEP team. The team will always include you, the parents. The law requires that parents be included as members of any group that makes decisions about a child's educational placement. Others involved in the IEP team, at a minimum, include at least one regular education teacher if the child is or is expected to be participating in a regular classroom. Not having a regular education teacher in attendance implies that your child is not expected to be in regular education. At least one special education teacher or provider of special education services must attend. A representative of the local school district must also attend, often, but not always, the principal of the child's school. And where appropriate, the child with a disability. You'll also need someone on the team who can interpret the results of a recent evaluation. If none of these individuals is able to do that, then a qualified individual who can should attend. And at your discretion and that of the school district, any other individuals may be invited who have knowledge or special expertise regarding the child. This may include, from the school's perspective, specialists who are providing services to the child, or from your perspective, a counselor, a close relative, a medical professional, or anyone else with something to contribute about the child's placement. If the child is transitioning out of early intervention, the child's IFSP coordinator might be invited to assure a smooth transition of services. It's important that the person who represents the school district is qualified to provide or supervise the provision of special education services, is knowledgeable about the resources available to the district, and has the authority to enter the district into a binding agreement for those resources. Oftentimes, your child's services will cost the school district money, and you want the representative of the district who is on your team to be entitled to spend the district's money without further authorization. At times, a member of the IEP team may be excused from attending a conference by mutual agreement between parents and the school if the member's area of the curriculum or services is not being modified or discussed in the meeting, or if the member submits his input in writing. But carefully weigh excusing any team member from the conference. Face-to-face collaboration and conversation among the team often generates new ideas that can lead to more positive programming. The law also permits any meeting between school professionals and parents to be carried out by an alternative means, such as conference calls or video conferencing. We've used the term IEP in a few contexts up to now, to refer to the individualized program itself, which is set up for your child, to refer to the team of parents and professionals who gather to confer, and to refer to the conference in which the team gathers to consider the path of the child's instruction. But the term most accurately refers to the written document that is developed, reviewed, and revised by the team on an annual or more frequent basis. The IEP document is a contract between the parents and the child's school, and like any contract, it's binding upon the parties entering into it. Here's what the IEP document must contain. The IEP document will always contain a statement regarding your child's present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. This will include mention of how his or her disability affects involvement and progress in the general education curriculum, or for preschool children, how the disability affects participation in appropriate activities. And for those whose disability is so severe as to require alternate standards of achievement, a description of benchmarks or short-term objectives. The IEP document will also contain a statement of measurable annual goals, again, both academic and functional. These goals are designed to enable the child to overcome the disadvantage of his or her disability and make progress in the same curriculum as for non-disabled children, as well as meet other needs that may result from the disability. There will be a statement of how the child's progress toward those annual goals will be measured, and when periodic reports on the child's progress will be provided. The IEP document will outline the special education services to be provided to the child, along with any supplementary aids and services for the child. If any program modifications will be required, or if teachers must be furnished with supports of their own in order to include the child in the classroom, those must be listed in the document as well. You must be sure to include all of the supports that a regular education teacher needs to ensure success for your child in the regular classroom. The document will outline how it will be made possible for the child to participate in extracurricular and other non-academic activities, and the extent to which he or she will participate with other children, both disabled and non-disabled, in school activities. Importantly, if the child will not be participating with non-disabled children in the regular class and in extracurricular activities, the IEP document must contain a written explanation as to why not. If any accommodations must be made to measure the child's functional or academic achievement with standardized statewide and district-wide tests, these must be noted in the IEP document. If it's decided that alternative assessments are in order, the document must explain how and why the team arrived at that decision. Most importantly, the IEP document will lay out the timetable for the services it describes to begin, the anticipated frequency and location where services will be provided, and the duration over which the services will last. If your child is of an age to begin transition planning, a transition plan may be part of the IEP document as well. The law requires transition planning to begin prior to age 16, but there's nothing to preclude transition topics from being part of an IEP much earlier if appropriate. As you can see, the IEP document can be complex. It's in your best interest and that of your child for you to participate fully in your capacity as a member of the IEP team to create the most appropriate IEP document possible for your child. There's a temptation on the part of some school districts to prepare the IEP document in advance and ask for the parent to merely sign off on its contents at the conference. If you're presented with such a document, remember that it lacks the input of one of the most important team members, you. The IEP conference is intended to be a meeting of the minds for the purpose of developing the IEP document. It's not just a signing party for a boilerplate. Don't hesitate to have parts of the document changed, appended, or stricken to accommodate your understanding of what's most appropriate for your child. In fact, the federal regulations make it abundantly clear that the IEP team shall consider, their words, shall consider the concerns of parents for their child's education as the IEP document is developed. Does this mean that a team must bend to the parents' every whim? Well, of course not. Remember, we said that special education placement and services are based upon data. You may be asked, where's the data to support your position? So be prepared to back up your input with observations or records you've collected at home. Again, no one knows your child as well as you do. This concludes Part 7 of Bright I.D.E.A.s. In Part 8, we'll continue our in-depth examination of the IEP.